Good day, everyone. My name's Rudy Page, Making Connections Work, and I'm so pleased once again to introduce Global Entrepreneurship Week, which aims to promote ingenuity, creativity, originality through local and global business support networks. The week also serves as an opportunity to collaborate and engage with organizations and individuals to celebrate entrepreneurs, particularly those who are committed to serving local communities and neighborhoods across the world. And I'm so pleased that we have Barney close. He's the Environmental Sustainability and UN SDGs Coordinator. Good day,
Got
Barney.
it. Hi, Rudy. Thanks so much for having me on. And yeah, it's you got there with the name title. It can be a bit of a tongue twister at times.
Absolutely. So, Barney, tell us about your role.
Sure. So I've been at West London Business for about a year and a half now, and I've been in this post for just over a year. And really, what it's all about, sort of West London Business is a business advocacy forum, which is really trying to make West London the best place to do business, but increasingly through that kind of environmental and sustainability and responsible sort of way, and through that lens. So the organization's been around for 26 years now. And really what I work on is I work across our portfolio of sustainability projects, and what that's really been focused on over the last sort of 9 to 10 months is the Better Futures program. The Better Futures program is a business accelerator for clean tech entrepreneurs to sort of provide them with the support and to really make London a sort of beacon and clean tech hub. And it's delivered by ourselves, the GLA, OPDC, and Imperial Consultants, Imperial College, and Sustainable Workplaces. And really what it's about is that clean tech, the clean tech side of it. But what I've really been working on over the sort of last 9 months or so is our Better Futures Plus program, which is focused on really making mainstream sort of SMEs throughout London, and helping them on that sort of net zero pathway. So providing them with consultancy, a sort of carbon footprinting tool, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, and a executive leadership program. And this kind of innovative program is sort of one of a kind, really, because you've got those education aspects and also the business consultancy aspects. So we've just gone through our first cohort where we helped 12 businesses across London with their net zero goals and their sustainability goals, by putting them through this fully funded program. And we are really excited to be launching our second program, hopefully in the next sort of 2 weeks or so. And that's really about helping over 500 businesses over the next 20 months. So a real opportunity for businesses across West London to get on that pathway, as London sort of really ignites that goal to reaching net zero by 2030. I think what we're seeing with COP at the moment, and the importance of it now, is that it's a pathway we're all going to have to take, and businesses potentially don't know the best way to go about it. So the program is really about providing that support, getting you on that pathway, and making it make business sense. So doing it sustainably, but also making that business case. And what we're really finding is, which I'll talk a little bit about it later, is that businesses not only are doing the right thing for the environment, but they're also actually getting more clients, more customers, and it's proving to be actually cost effective in the long run.
Excellent. And of course, getting more business is what small business people are about, generating income. So
Yeah,
really important.
exactly.
So businesses who might be listening probably wondering, what is net zero and why should they do anything about it?
So yeah, I think what we've seen over the last sort of week or so is with COP, and there's a lot of sort of jargon in there, and a lot of myth busting that needs to be done. So net zero is one of those terms, but essentially it refers to the balance between the amount of greenhouse gases that are produced and the amount that's actually removed from the atmosphere. So we reach net zero when the amount we add is no more than the amount taken away. So I think sort of looking at sort of why should they do anything about it, I think the reports at the moment are quite damning. The IPCC report sort of boldly states with sort of 95% certainty that humans are the main cause for ongoing climate change since the 1950s. So this is really a global problem, and we really need to get to that 1.5 degree pathway, which is sort of being whistled around in the news. And really there's two ways to sort of do that. So there's the reductions pathway, which defines the rate of decarbonization. So it's reducing emissions on an absolute basis. So switching to renewable energy or LED lighting is an example of what could be sort of included in the reductions pathway. And then the removals pathway sort of provides further mitigation when reductions aren't enough to reach net zero. So these projects are often called carbon offsets. So that would be, for example, investing in a tree planting project to restore forestry. And that's a good sort of short-term solution, but what we're really looking at is that reductions pathway and reducing those emissions on an absolute basis. And I guess thousands of businesses around the world are working to reduce their emissions in line with the climate science. I think increasing stakeholder pressure and the positive impact of the company's reputation means that this number will likely continue over the next few years. And all businesses generate greenhouse gas emissions, whether that's manufacturing, transporting, or even sort of generating emissions when you're sitting at your desk. And you might think, how am I doing that? But the main reason really is energy. So you need energy to power your lights, computer, store data, and sort of it's kind of everywhere. So energy is being used to mine the nutritions used to fertilize the food that you eat. So that's it's almost an addiction to carbon in the way that we go about our lives. And what it's really about is making those kind of small steps and like I say, getting that, celebrating that success as well.
Okay. So could you then tell us a little bit more about the processes that business will have to take to actually be able to measure their carbon footprint?
Yeah, so the first sort of step in your kind of race to zero is the critical step is for any business is to measure their carbon footprint. So I spent the first part of this year looking at a variety of different carbon footprinting tools, and it's quite a congested space and it's quite difficult to navigate as there's so many out there. I think with the realization of how much this is going to, how important this is going to be to our future. I think that there's a lot of carbon footprinting tools and there's industry specific tools. But the one that we've really that really sort of stuck out to me when doing my research was a clean tech startup called Climax Community, and it's built a tool called Climate Essentials. And this allows you to baseline your current carbon footprint and then points in the best direction to sort of reduce emissions easily. The tool is really dynamic, it's easy to use, it's got a really good UX, and it can actually now measure emissions internationally as well. And it can be used to sort of measure your personal, your business, or borough-wide carbon emissions. And that's just not my opinion. I know it might be slightly biased, but SMEs have actually told us that too. We've done a lot of work with SMEs in our first cohort to measure their emissions, and taking them through that process, we've really been able to tailor the tool to the needs of small businesses across a variety of different industries. Okay. So that actual process of sort of data capture is sort of going into the tool, which is completely sort of free to use. You create a personal login and input some key data such as office size, monthly electricity bills, the type of vehicles you own, and how much you spend on products and services. And if you have your bills handy, it shouldn't take more than around 30 minutes. And once you have that baseline, which could be across a whole year, so your carbon emissions for a year, you can then use that to revisit and hone on the kind of carbon emissions that are really kind of screaming out to you from that. And that's really and once you've done that, you can start to make that reductions pathway. And
is that accessed through a website?
Yes, so you sign up at climax.community/climate essentials, and they'll create a personal login for you. And through our program, it's completely free to use as well, because sometimes these things can be quite costly. So the program really helps with that as well. And I can send over the registration link maybe after.
Yeah, thanks for that. So what can a business do to start to cut their emissions?
Sure. So I think that the first thing to note is energy, which I sort of touched on before. Yeah. Almost 2/3 of wind and solar projects built globally last year will be able to generate cheaper electricity than the world's cheapest new coal plants. And that came from a report from the International Renewable Energy Agency, and really shows that not only is it better for the environment to change to a renewable energy tariff, but also it's going to cost you less money in the long run. So the big 6 energy suppliers all offer green business contracts. And there are also a number of smaller independent suppliers that provide renewable energy tariffs, such as Optus Energy, or companies that will support you further. So energy brokers like Beyond, and really find you the best tariff to fit your needs. The second thing is sort of lighting. So integrating a switch off policy within your business, installing light sensors can achieve savings of up to 30%. Switching to LEDs as well. So those small things can go a really long way. And then looking into kind of your waste disposal, so creating waste streams and making sure you're recycling. So going paperless helps you to reduce waste, saves time while you're filing and organizing documents. And then also removing your single-use products, so water dispensers with plastic cups, paper towels, streamlining your operations. I know Brent Council actually offers a business waste collection service, which is provided by Viola, and many of the councils will have similar schemes to that as well. So get in touch with your local council, and I'm sure they'll be able to help with that waste side of things. And then really kind of, how do you change your mode of transport? So as a business leader, you may want to integrate a cycle to work scheme. There may be some employee benefits to doing that, and then and set targets for yourself. So maybe you want to reduce your energy by 30% over the next 2 years. Start to create that roadmap to getting to that net zero goal, and also celebrate your successes. Small things like engaging your staff, creating green teams within your staff, so real champions of a certain aspect of that, so maybe waste or transport, and start to make incentives within your employees. And that's really tackling your scopes 1 and 2. But what we found in our last cohort, and what's really can be quite damaging, is your scope 3 emissions. And that's all indirect emissions that occur in the supply and value chains. So this includes both upstream and downstream emissions. So on average, for a company, the supply chain produces emissions sort of 11.4 times greater than their direct emissions. So that's the real issue. So speak to your supply chain, ask them about their green credentials. What are you doing on this agenda? And if you don't get any reply, or it's not what you're looking for, then look at switching to a more sustainable supply chain.
Okay, so coming out of lockdown, and as we go through this pandemic, things have been very difficult for many businesses. So some might be thinking, despite what they've heard, what will I get out of this? So how do you tackle that?
Yeah, that's sort of the big question, really. And like I say, that the business case is bigger than ever. But many business leaders might have the perception that one can have sort of profits or sustainability, but maybe not both. But it really is sustainable businesses that are redefining this kind of work ecosystem by designing models that create value for all stakeholders. And that goes from employees, shareholders, supply chains, civil society, and of course, the planet as well. And that's within that. And then on the consumer side of things, more than a third of British consumers say they're buying products from companies with strong environmental credentials. 84% of UK consumers have said a poor environmental track record would cause them to stop buying from a brand. And nearly half of UK and US consumers are willing to pay a premium for brands that are socially conscious. So what this really shows is that your consumers in the long run will want to see what you're doing on this. And then from the sort of stakeholder and supply chain point of view, there's going to be a real trickle down effect from corporates. And I think we're going to see more people, more corporates, as they have to sort of provide transparency on their greenhouse gas emissions, going to smaller businesses and saying, what are you doing on this agenda? So it's really about getting ahead of the curve. I think this is a change that we're all going to have to make. So make it now. And also, just on top of that, it's sort of, there's more sustainable businesses are more forward thinking. I think it goes to more, it provides sort of more innovation within your business, and then more time on sort of design and efficiency. So looking at your processes, you may be able to look at how you can do things better. So an example of that is Chargebox, who went through our first cohort, and they used to have sort of plastic sheets for their cables. They supply iPhone and phone charging within the hospitality industry, and they actually found out that the durable casing will provide them with more uses and is more sustainable. So it's really that kind of double win. We've also seen in our last cohort the VMI and Stem and Glory, VMI, who are a camera rental company based in West London, and Stem and Glory, a vegan restaurant. They actually were finalists in the Net Zero Hero competition, which was awarded at COP26. There was a prize money involved, that you get that kind of PR and exposure to your business, and you can also celebrate your successes and really advocate for your industry and they'll become a real green business leader. So all of those kind of things sort of point towards sustainable businesses being really the future, and you don't want to get left behind on that.
Of course. So WLB at COP26, can you tell us a bit about COP itself and how WLB are making their contribution?
Sure. So COP26 is the most significant global climate conference since Paris in 2015. And national representatives sort of come together against the backdrop of all these stark warnings from scientists, and the prospect of real climate chaos if carbon emissions are not rapidly curbed. So it's really about sort of these big stakeholders coming together and finding a solution to the problems that we have in front of us. We're delighted at West London Business to be an observer organisation, which means our delegation, which is made up of business leaders, public sector partners, and are at the heart of the conference. So in the blue zone, so there's a green zone, which is sort of open to the public, and that's really about, that's kind of stalls about what the innovations that are going on with the sponsors who are sponsoring the event. But the blue zone is really where the international negotiations take place. And for us at West London Business, it's really about showing what we're doing as a region, the work that we're doing through Better Futures, but also the work that we're doing through our delegates, and showcasing the innovation and the potential and opportunities that there are to make a real difference within West London.
Okay. And finally then, so what do businesses need to do to get involved in the program?
So businesses can register by signing up, pre-register for our program, and explore our website. So that's www.betterfutures.london. And if you go to the Better Futures Plus sort of segment, you'll see how you can get involved, the things that you can get involved with, so that's the Executive Leadership Program, which is a series of webinars, peer learning groups, access to Climate Essentials, the carbon footprinting tool, consultancy, workshops. So there's a lot going on there. Our first cohort starts in January of 2022. So we really want to get as many businesses involved as possible. The only eligibility criteria is there has to be sort of more than 2 employees and over 100K turnover. And yeah, just please have a look at the website, have a look at how you can get involved, and I really encourage you to sort of sign up and see what we're all about.
Great, thanks a lot. And that was Barney Close from Better Futures Plus, and we look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you very much, Barney. Take care.
Thanks, Rudy. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.